Where's our sound? Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to make your way to your seats now, please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all who work at Cammell, a very warm welcome to you all on this very proud and historic day for our shipyard. We certainly appreciate all of you taking your time out, particularly on a weekend, to be with us here, and I'm aware that many of you have travelled a long distance. We thank you all. I'm also delighted to see many of our family and friends here to share this special day, and I hope they're justly proud of what we've all achieved. We expect the ideal conditions to launch at around 12:20, but as the old adage goes, time and tide wait for no one. But thankfully, we've got some of the world's most eminent scientists here to advise us. So please bear with us. We may have to adapt the ceremony if the tide makes early, but at the moment, all indications are 12:20. So on that note, it gives me great pride to introduce our Chief Executive, John Sivert, Chief Executive of Cammell, to say some words in the middle podium, John.
Good morning. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. On behalf of the entire workforce, I would like to welcome you all here today. Today's launch is an important milestone in the construction of the Sir David Attenborough Polar Research Vessel and in another important landmark in the company's history. Today, we have over 3,000 people on site. However, due to global interest and the wonder of technology, we are broadcasting the event live to a worldwide audience. I would like to take this opportunity to thank those who have travelled great distance to be here today, with huge thanks also to our workforce and their families and friends for their unyielding support. I can honestly say I'm astounded with the number of people wanting to be here today, and it is disappointing we've had to limit attendance due to safety reasons. I'm truly honoured to be sharing the podium with our distinguished guests, who will introduce to you individually shortly. They are all world leaders in their individual areas of expertise, and I thank you all for being here today. Our very special guest, however, is a man who needs no introduction. He is a man who is known to all and has inspired the nation by bringing the amazing and varied species of our wonderful world directly into our living rooms. He has been instrumental in highlighting the negative effects of sea and air pollution and the catastrophic effect that this has on our natural world. In doing so, he has motivated world leaders to change international environmental policy, which has gone a long way to preserve the health and well-being of us all. He is Sir David Attenborough. Thank you, Sir David. We are here today to see the launch of the Sir David Attenborough, a truly unique vessel and the first of its class. We will commemorate another milestone in its journey, a journey which will ultimately see it operational in arguably the harshest environment on our planet. This vessel, when built bearing Sir David's name, will be a fitting tribute to the man whose endeavour to explore the unknown and bring science to life epitomises the intent of this wonderful ship. The ship is at the forefront of engineering technology and will be a safe haven for our scientists and crew in the harsh polar regions for decades to come. This mighty ship can push her way through sea ice of over 1 metre thick and is silent at 11 knots. She has an endurance capacity of 60 days and has a range of 19,000 nautical miles, which effectively means she can circle the entire Antarctic continent twice without refueling. This vessel pushes the boundaries of science and engineering endurance and represents our re-emergence as a global maritime engineering company. As many of you know, the Cammell brand stretches back 200 years with its location right here on the south bank of the mighty River Mersey. The company has an unrivaled history and is known around the world for being best in class. We built the first propeller-driven ship to cross the Atlantic. We built the Mar Robert for David Livingstone's expedition to the Zambezi, and in 1920 we built the first all-welded ship. The company also served our country well during the war years, and some of the greatest ships ever built have been launched from these slipways, including HMS Ark Royal and the first guided missile destroyer HMS Devonshire. Great passenger liners like the Mauretania have also slipped into our river. Most recently, we've played our part in the construction of over 12,000 tonnes of flight deck modules on the new Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers, and have recently delivered multiple roll-on, roll-off passenger ferries for various customers. And we continue to deliver large, complex sections of Astute-class submarines to our friend and alliance partner, BAE Systems. Cammell Laird is both sophisticated and diverse. We provide 24/7 global engineering support services to our Royal Fleet Auxiliary, which sustain our naval operations around the world. We provide ship repair and dry dock services to over 100 customers per year and support the renewable energy and oil and gas sectors. We are poised also to support the UK's third generation civil nuclear infrastructure programme. The Sir David Attenborough Polar Research Vessel adds to our history and when launched will be the largest specialist commercial vessel built in the UK for 30 years. And this is a major achievement. We are proud to say that we beat off competition from all around the world to win this contract, including Spain, Norway, Singapore, South Korea, to name a few. It really has taken blood, sweat and tears to get the business back to this point. Now I'd like to thank the Natural Environmental Research Council and British Antarctic Survey for placing their trust in us, and as with all our customers, we will not let you down. This achievement demonstrates that Cammell Laird is internationally competitive and a centre of excellence for engineering skills. Our River Mersey has been the artery of life for our communities for the last 2 centuries, and I am proud to say that, as in the past, Cammell Laird maintains its heartbeat today. We understand the importance of this, and we accept that responsibility. Those of us who grew up here in the shadow of a giant know what Cammell Laird means. We remember those who have shared our journey in the past, who aren't with us here today. We are a family who have experienced the glittering highs and lows of heavy industry and managed to navigate our way through difficult times. This has been achieved by delivering on our promises and providing our customers with value for money solutions and delivering a quality product on time, safely. Cammell Laird is at the heart of Merseyside. We pump tens of millions of pounds into the local community and provide highly skilled jobs to thousands of people directly and indirectly. We have one of the biggest and best apprentice training programs in the UK, with strong links to our universities. Our management, staff, TU and workforce have worked tirelessly to make today happen. This continues our history of building the best and most iconic ships in the world. The message that I would like to deliver today is that great British engineering is here on Merseyside, proving that with a level playing field, we can compete with the very best in the world. However, what we have learned from our history is that we are only custodians of this 130-acre site. Therefore, we must endeavour to adapt to meet the challenges of the future, and will provide opportunities for generations to come. Here at Cammell Laird, we are pushing the boundaries, and yes, in doing so, we are taking on some risk. However, with drive, vision, and determination, I believe we can rebuild our industry, not just here on Merseyside, but all around the UK. There were many that thought that the destiny of this shipyard and the construction hall behind you would be better utilised as ski domes. They also believed that occasions like this had long gone. Fortunately, they were wrong. We are thinking big and have a diverse offering. The building of the Sir David Attenborough takes Cammell Laird to a new level, and we thank Sir David for making the effort to join us here today and lending his name to this iconic vessel which go together so well. I must take the opportunity to thank our broader customers, as without your support, we are nothing. Thanks also to the Right Honourable Frank Field, sitting there in the back. Frank, it's a little wave, for his unyielding support. Together with the entire Wirral Borough Council team, both past and present. Thanks to all our organisations in our local supply chain who work tirelessly to support the company. Thanks also to A&P Group, John Hudson and BAE Systems, Rolls-Royce, Holder Limited and Lloyd's Register. Together we are Team UK, and when provided with a level playing field, we're a match for anyone. Finally, to John Drummond, Mike Hill, Jeff Jones, and all our management and staff, Dave Williams, our workforce and our TU, to Linton and my board. Thank you. Thank you for your effort and commitment in delivering this hugely important milestone, which provides a platform for us to showcase Cammell Laird skills to the world. I am proud of what we have achieved to date. I'm proud of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for those fantastic opening words to start the ceremony today. As John noted in his speech, we are very fortunate to have some distinguished guests to speak to us today and to give us an insight into the importance of this project to the UK, both industry and science. It's therefore my great pleasure to introduce our first guest, the Right Honourable Claire Perry, MP, Minister of State for Energy and Clean Growth, and invite her to give us an insight into the importance of the project from a government perspective. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you very much. That sounds like quite a boring speech. I'll try to make it a little more interesting. I just first of all wanted to say good morning to everyone and just what an incredible pleasure it is to be here in this fantastic historic location on the banks of the Mersey, the scene of so many launches of so many thousands of vessels with an amazing group of people celebrating the launch of, what is dryly called Hull 1390. Just another vessel, but my goodness, so much more than just another vessel. As we heard, it's the largest specialist civilian ship that's been built in the UK in the last 30 years. But it is, for me, three things that make it such a fantastic opportunity. First, this vessel will be a critical piece of scientific instrumentation in the front line of understanding the impact and effect of what I think is one of the biggest challenges humanity's ever dealt with. What will climate change do to our planet, and how do we tackle it? Secondly, it's a ship that represents the next phase of something we should all be so proud of, which is our unbroken UK leadership in the area of polar and maritime exploration and understanding. Look, we weren't the first to make it to the poles, but like the parable of the hare and the tortoise, we took the slow and sustainable route. But when we got there, we are second to none in understanding the importance of those areas, in progressing scientific research, in focusing on peaceful scientific endeavours that have contributed so immensely to our understanding of the world today. And third, of course, and for me it is such an honour to be sitting next to this gentleman, this ship will bear the name of a man who I think has done more to inspire our nation in the area of natural science and conservation than anyone else today. So three hugely important reasons for us to be celebrating. I know colleagues from the scientific part of government will talk more about the immense effort that's gone into building this incredible vessel. But for me, look at it. It's incredible. It's a tour de force of British design and engineering, and a living example of all of the best things that can happen when we work together. It was commissioned by the National Environment Research Council. It was designed by Rolls-Royce, and it will be driven by their engines. It was funded by all of us through our taxes we pay to the British government, part of a £200 million investment that we're making in polar exploration and research. It was built by 400 amazing Cammell Laird workers, including 60 apprentices. And it was supported by my good friend Frank Field and others in the local community because of what it's actually delivered. 1,300 jobs, both directly and indirectly in the supply chain. A huge boost to local people and the local economy. And I get asked the question sometimes, why are we investing when there are so many priorities for government? Why are we making this big investment in science and research? And for which I say a couple of things. This is absolutely critical in a time of a fight, really, to protect our planet. It was British scientists who were down on the Antarctic research base, and a research presence we've maintained since 1944, who first detected the ozone layer was developing, the ozone hole in the ozone layer with their measurement and monitoring. And of course that led to the first groundbreaking global cooperation to stop the manufacture of chlorofluorocarbons that were doing so much damage to the environment. And with the same measuring and monitoring of ice caps, sea ice levels, salinity, ocean flows, this ship will help us with the tools we need to understand what the world will look like if we let climate change run away and what we need to do to stop it. And of course, as Sir David's Planet 2 series demonstrated so dramatically as well, ocean exploration is vital to understanding the reality of plastics that are choking our seas. If we don't do something, there will be more weight of plastics than fish in the sea by 2050. A shocking statistic that was within our power to change. And this ship will be out there understanding what is happening in the oceans, really helping us understand what we can do to change that. And in fact, it was that call to arms that led us to announce during the recent Commonwealth Summit that the UK government again is trying to lead the world in this space with the launch of a marine plastics research and innovation framework, collaborating with Commonwealth countries right across the world, where our scientists and technical experts will develop solutions that will stop the waste getting into the ocean in the first place, and how we actually deal with it once it's there. And also, of course, environmentally friendly alternatives to plastic. So we're backing that with investment as well. And other companies and federations are joining us in that fight. But to me, again, the sort of people say about, well, that's plastics, what about the climate thing? We need to pull together as a world in this challenge to face down climate change. We have the Paris Agreement, which is still working well. And again, something for us to be proud of. Britain has led from the front in the fight against climate change. We were the first country to pass a Climate Change Act. We have statutory budgets that we have to meet. And we've led the world in cutting our carbon emissions while we have grown the economy. But we need knowledge and information to help solve these problems. And I'm told one of the Sir David's first vessels, first missions will be to the South Atlantic around Antarctica to understand the role that that very unknown continent plays in regulating the world's carbon dioxide levels. Again, an incredibly important part of the scientific understanding we need to know. So it's worth investing to try and tackle that fight. But there's another hugely important reason to invest too. Even if this was just about new discoveries in science, this is also about inspiring the next generation to dream of new worlds, getting out there, understanding what we can do to map every inch of our world, and also to think about worlds that are still out there to be explored, and to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers and make them want to come and work in places like this incredible setup on the Mersey. Every pound invested in this ship and in polar exploration and research is an investment investment in the future. And it's backed up with things like the Polar Explorer programme, engaging children with science and technical subjects which can be a little dry, with incredible examples of what's actually happening out there on the ice caps. Developing laboratories. If anyone's ever seen the labs that actually sit in Antarctica, you could take those to Mars. They are sort of space travel proof. That's UK innovation at its absolute best. And of course, every penny we spent in this project is being spent in British manufacturing and British jobs, a testament to the skills and strength and legacy that we have in those areas, which for too long I think we have underinvested in, and it is time to change that. So for me, this money that we're all spending is a down payment. It's a down payment on the benefits that will come from stopping global warming, from protecting our planet against runaway plastics pollution, and for inspiring the next generation to want to solve these scientific problems and to bring their knowledge to fantastic places like Cammell Laird to actually deliver the tools that we need. So it's an investment that I think we should be proud of making time and time again, and one that I'm so proud of being part of today. And just before I hand over to Sir David, I do just want to say again, massive congratulations to everybody who has worked on this project, whether you're an apprentice or a welder, in the finance department, in a small business locally, you've been part of the health and safety, whatever you have done, whether it's bringing hard work, sweat, tears, hopes, expertise. Thank you so much for making this historic day a reality and for restoring again Britain's fantastic leadership in this conquering those worlds that are out there to solve our problems together. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. It's 21 months since we laid the keel and placed the commemorative coin for luck. It was a day to remember and started the project off in a spectacular way. The following short video is a reminder of that day and illustrates how far we have come. Having had the great honour of meeting our next guest in 2016 on that day, where he played a starring role, I feel very fortunate again to introduce our next special guest, Sir David Attenborough, and invite him to share his thoughts about the future importance of his namesake on the slipway. Sir David.
Thank you very much, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. When 100 years ago, this country sent people down to the South Pole, we were the pioneers in exploring Antarctica. When we did so, I suspect the reason we did is that the South Pole and the Antarctic seemed as far away, as desolate, and as empty as it could possibly get to be on this planet. Now, 100 years later, we realize that although we have done a great deal about what goes on down there, now we realize that that remote place is in fact key to the whole understanding of our planet. What goes on down there affects the whole of the earth on which we live. What goes on there is of great importance to every one of us, everywhere. And this country has been key in discovering what goes on down there. The British Antarctic Survey, an organization of marvelous people of which this country should be hugely proud. And what they've discovered is that the Antarctic, far from being remote and desolate, it is key to understanding what is happening in the entire globe and happening here. And that we ourselves and what we do affects what happens down there, just as what goes on down there affects what happens up here. So understanding what happens is of crucial importance to everybody in this country and indeed to the world. So Britain can be proud of the fact that it was key to the beginning of that source, that exploration, and that had brought it to this spectacular climax. You have heard from the Minister how discoveries from the British Antarctic Survey in the 1980s were the alarm call that will warn the world that the air, the atmosphere in which we're living was thinning, and that if we weren't careful from what we were doing, we would, and all the people on this earth, would be in danger. The ozone layer, the thinning of the ozone layer. And because of the discoveries of the British Antarctic Survey, the world took action, and that problem was solved. But actually, only temporarily. We are now realizing from the work that's going on there now that that problem is beginning to rear its head once again. So our concern about the health of our planet is essential because our planet's in such danger. And the key to discovering how to help that and understanding what the problems are not just up here in the Northern Hemisphere and on the temperate regions. It's at the poles, both north and south. And so that our future and everybody's future will be affected by what people working on this ship, British scientists and others, will be discovering in years to come. So as far as I am concerned, to see this magnificent hull with my name on it is the greatest possible honor. And I thank everyone who has been involved in this wonderful enterprise and wish them huge success when this marvelous ship gets down there in the Antarctic, which we thought was so remote, but which we realize now is absolutely crucial to the future of all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir David. Inspiring words for all of us. I now have the great privilege to introduce Professor Sir Mark Walport, Chief Executive of UK Research and Innovation. and invite him to share his considerable knowledge about the UK's leading position in cutting-edge science. So Mark.
Thank you very much. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, not for many years has the naming of a ship been a matter of such extraordinary public interest. The results of the 2016 NERC Name Our Ship competition stimulated enormous public attention, with more than 200,000 votes cast. The results of that competition, I think, are well known, and the impact has been long-lasting. Indeed, a Google search on Boaty McBoatface yields 217,000 results and has spawned a series of X-McXface successors. But a search on David Attenborough yields 21,400,000 results. So there is absolutely no competition. However, the public competition to name this ship turned out to be an inspired piece of scientific public engagement. And indeed, because of its rather unexpected course, it ended up in the hands of a parliamentary select committee, with Duncan Wingham, who will be speaking next, enjoying an appearance at the House of Commons Science and Technology Select Committee. But he won the day. In their evidence to the committee, the Science Media Centre wrote, "The entire nation have been discussing a polar research ship, and they've all heard of NERC. How many other scientific research councils could they name?" And this was reinforced by quite a few members of the public who emailed the committee. And one of them said, "As a member of the public, I wanted to write to let you know that I approve of the way the NERC have handled the situation. The process raised the attention of the organisation. Certainly I'd never heard of NERC before. I've also never been motivated to write to a select committee before. So their PR actions can show that as a positive benefit as well." And of course the outcome, which in this case is having our cake and eating it, is perfect. Today we see, sitting triumphantly before us, the completed hull of the Royal Research Ship Sir David Attenborough. Whilst at the National Oceanographic Centre in Southampton, some of the board of UK Research and Innovation recently saw Boaty McBoatface, the name that has been attached, and indeed cloned to boot, to a flotilla of underwater autonomous vehicles, which are already starting to be deployed under the Antarctic ice sheets, and will be launched from the RRS Sir David Attenborough and its sister Royal Research ships. And that brings me to UK Research and Innovation itself. UK Research and Innovation, UKRI, was conceived in a report written by Sir Paul Nurse, the Nobel laureate, in 2015. And after a great deal of preparation, we came into existence on the 1st of April this year. So we're just 3.5 months old. What do? We bring together the 7 UK research councils, of which NERC is one, Innovate UK, and a new organisation, Research England, that will work closely with its partner organisations in the devolved administrations. And we've been created at a critical time when the government has positioned research and innovation at the heart of its industrial strategy, a plan to create an economy that boosts productivity and earning power throughout the UK. And as a sign of its commitment to research and innovation, the government's committed an additional £7 billion of funding by 2021-2022 and set an ambitious target for the UK to increase its expenditure on research and development to 2.4% of its GDP by 2027. And our mission in UKRI is to work with our partners here and around the world to ensure that our world-leading research and innovation continues to build on its enormous strengths to grow and to flourish. And we're building a unified system that will be able to respond with agility to new challenges and opportunities. And at a time of national and global change, it's crucial that the UK continues to provide the best possible environment for research and innovation to flourish. And as we've heard, researchers and innovators around the world face some extraordinary global challenges. And amongst the highest of these are the environmental consequences of the inhabitation of our planet by more than 7.5 billion human beings. And some of the most important of these consequences are not immediately visible. The results of the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, accompanied by some of the extraordinary changes that you've heard from the Minister and from Sir David, the changes in our seas and our oceans, which historically have been slightly out of sight and out of mind. And I'll come back to that in a moment. And some of the greatest effects are in the most inaccessible parts of our planet, in the polar regions. And so to research what is happening in the polar regions, both above and below the surface, requires exceptional infrastructure. 2 years ago, I had the privilege of visiting with Dame Jane Francis, who you'll hear from in a minute, Rothera, which is the main base of the British Antarctic Survey in Antarctica. And I had the humbling privilege of meeting the extraordinarily dedicated team who maintain the facilities there in one of the harshest environments on the Earth, and meeting some of the many researchers from the UK, but also from around the world, who depend on the infrastructure and the support of the British Antarctic Survey to do their work. So the Royal Research Ship David Attenborough will form part of this vital infrastructure and marks a great step forward for polar research of national and global importance. This ship will be a vehicle for international research partnerships, continuing the UK's reputation for research and innovation excellence. It's fair to say also that this ship is also a crucial tool for diplomacy and for public engagement with polar issues around the world. As one of the original signatories of the Antarctic Treaty, the UK has a proven commitment to working collectively with nations around the world on the study of the Antarctic. And the RRS, David Attenborough, will help to continue the UK's contribution to international scientific collaboration in this area and, of course, in the North Polar region as well. The organisations behind this new cutting-edge vessel, the British Antarctic Survey and the Natural Environment Research Council, epitomise the strengths and the values of the outward-facing nature of UK research, and indeed of the values that will underpin the success of UK research and innovation. I want to end by emphasising the importance of public engagement. It will be an important activity for UK research and innovation at a time when there is distrust of establishments, in some places a lack of respect for the truth, and a challenge to the values of the Enlightenment. It's more important than ever that we engage with public audiences about science, engineering, technology, the social sciences, the humanities, and the arts, which all need to work together if we're to understand and communicate the changes that are happening in the polar regions and in the environment around the world. And this is an important opportunity to thank Sir David for a lifetime of engagement with all of us in the wonders of nature, and in particular for your extraordinary achievement through the 2 series of The Blue Planet in attracting global attention to the dramatic changes due to human activities in the seas and the oceans. So today is an exciting step towards the commissioning of what will be an important part of the infrastructure for which UK research and innovation will be responsible. And we look forward to taking to the high seas as a significant component of the UK maritime presence in the 21st century. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sir Mark. Our next video gives you some idea of the harsh environment the vessel will operate in and the cutting-edge science that's just been explained so eloquently by Sir Mark.